Hello and welcome to the Q&A announcement video for EMIT. My name is Corey Miracle,
And I'm Logan Dean.
and we are the authors as well as storytellers by passion. Before we jump into the video, we're going to be answering fan questions that you as an audience had submitted in. We'll discuss the progress on the EMIT novel, and we'll discuss the future of what we are establishing as EMIT, as well as a big update on the book toward the end of the video.
I think we should start by getting into some fan questions. I posted on Facebook yesterday asking some people to write in questions they had about the book and stuff like that. And essentially, what we did was we took top 10 questions and we pretty much found the ones who had the most, that were being asked the most, essentially. And we just put a list of them, and yeah, we're gonna answer them right now.
So the first one, what inspired you to get into writing? I've always been someone that's passionate in storytelling. Ever since school, I wasn't really good at math, but more so like English and storytelling is where my passion was.
Kind of the same with me. Like growing up, I always had like an imagination. I always wanted to go outside and just create all these stories of like adventures that me and my friends and stuff would go on when they would come over and hang out. And I kind of eventually learned to take that imaginative like adventure that we would all go on, and I started putting it on paper. And I actually went to my local library when I was in like second or third grade, and I competed in a short story contest, and I actually won the best story there. So like ever since then, I've just been really just excited and passionate about putting all these stories onto paper so people can read them and just kind of experience them the way I try to experience them.
And the second question, what was your inspiration for writing EMIT? And I wrote it because I wanted to challenge myself while I was still in film school. That being a 1 minute short film. How do you tell a story with such limited time? And can you actually achieve this?
This didn't actually start out as a book. This started out as us writing, him writing a short film. I remember he came to me with it and he was like, Logan, I wrote this short film and it's like a minute and a half long. We're going to shoot it and we're going to see what we can do with this little bit of time or whatever. And I remember being super excited about it because it just seemed like something that was going to be super fun to do.
After I submitted the challenge film to film festivals, it started gaining some popularity, and then being on YouTube, that's kind of where we were like, oh, we actually have something that can be pursued, because at the end of the first challenge film, the main character gets hit by a car. There's a lot of people who are like, what happened to this character? We want to see more. Why is there
Yeah.
not more? So we're like, well, I guess we'll create a sequel and then go from there. And it turned into like Logan said, a web series.
Yeah, and we ended up actually pretty much saving up money, getting help from like friends and family and stuff. We ended up raising about $250, and that's how much it cost us to shoot the next two episodes, which is pretty low budget when you have to feed a crew and find location and stuff like that. And we actually wrote three or four more episodes onto it. We just never got the chance to shoot them just because everything's expensive and stuff. So what we ended up doing was, back to the question of what gave us the inspiration to write Amit the novel. We actually thought about it one night and we were like, we have so much of this story that we want to tell. And what would be the best way to get our creative juices flowing other than to put this into a full book? And Corey was actually the one that came up with that idea. And for the longest time, I was completely against it just because it's a lot of work and effort that you got to put into it. But here we are now.
The thing is, with a book, you really don't have to put much money into it. It's just more of time consuming. Not that filmmaking is time consuming, or even writing a screenplay that's a feature film, but I mean, it's still, there's just, you don't need the required finances to tell your story. You can have
Yeah.
it right there on paper.
I want to say you have like a much bigger canvas that you can work with when you're writing a book too, because things that you can do in film are limited based off the amount of funds you have. And when you have a book, you can make anything happen you want. You can literally have the craziest action sequences. You can have anything you want, and it essentially can be written out exactly how you want it without having to worry about those budgetary constraints. And that's something that we really thrived while writing this book, I feel. All right, so question number three. It's a simple one. Where does EMIT take place?
As I wrote the short film or the challenge film, it could literally take place anywhere. So, being from the first scene of a garage to the outdoors of a road, that's literally the only two scenes that were provided in the challenge film. So I was like, well, I mean, doesn't need to be a specific place, but now as we are writing the book, we kind of need a specific what city are they in? What state are they in the United States? So
And
these are
that's
the kind of things that we need to do to answer.
Yeah, and we actually had a pretty long conversation about it one night, trying to figure out where would be the best place to do it. And I think we debated back and forth on whether or not we wanted to, because this has a really like a Silicon Valley type feel to it in terms of being two inventors that are creating something new and outstanding that are trying to make their way up. And we debated on actually putting it in. I think Santa Clara is where we debated originally, right?
Yeah, yep.
And then we actually ended up settling on Seattle, Washington, and we had the main characters actually attend the University of Washington because they have a pretty outstanding engineering degree, and it kind of just tied everything in. And the landscape of Seattle is beautiful, so we could do some pretty good description.
Real quick, I think we should address the kind of what the story is about.
For sure.
Obviously, there's been some changes to the novel, the story itself, over the web series. So the log line being a pair of aspiring inventors become overturned by a large technological advancing corporation after inventing teleportation.
And that's pretty much just that's a real simple explanation of it. We have a larger synopsis on our Facebook page if you guys want to check that out. But that's kind of just the overview of it.
So question 4, does the title EMIT have a secret meaning to it? It does, but I don't want to give away what it entails. So you'll have to wait and see. So then moving on to 5, which character do you feel like you relate to the most and which is your favorite character?
This
That's a
is
very hard question.
this is
Very
my
hard.
favorite question, to be honest.
So, well then if it's your favorite, then I'll give you the honors.
So the character I feel like I most relate to is 100% Steven. We kind of wrote these two characters as really good friends, and I think writing this book based off of friends, me and Corey are obviously friends, and I think if you know us, you'll kind of start getting little nuances and being like, "Oh, that kind of reminds me of Corey, or that kind of reminds me of Logan," you know. But for me, Steven's definitely reminds me a lot of myself.
And we'll be writing this, and we'll write it like I'll write something, me being more pertaining to Adam, and we'll be writing something, and Logan will go, "That's just like you," and I'll be like, "Well, going back to this, that's just like you and Steven." So we would kind of like always just discuss about how we relate to these two main characters the most, and it's kind of interesting to see from one person and pouring that personality into a character.
And I think that it's going to be interesting, especially when we get to this next question, because the fact that they have traits based off of us, obviously they're not us, but there's traits based off of us. It allows us to kind of get inside of the heads of these characters and try to figure out what would I do in this situation, and in turn, what would Steven do in this situation. So I think it just helps stuff flow just better, I think, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
so which is your favorite character? That's the second part.
if I had to pick one character out of the series, um, honestly, going from the web series, because this character wasn't in the first episode. So my favorite character, I don't know, Logan, do you think?
I'm pretty sure we have the same favorite character in both the novel and the web series.
Well, all right. So who's your favorite character?
So mine is Jerry. I don't know if that's yours,
It
but
is.
mine is 100% Jerry.
It is because
And
he's so
he's the
unpredictable.
antagonist, by the
You,
way.
yes, he's the
Yeah.
antagonist, basically the head guy of this major corporation that's antagonizing these two protagonists. So
Hi,
because
Evan.
Jerry's so unpredictable,
My name's
you don't know
Jerry.
what he's gonna do, and you don't know what he's capable of doing.
Yeah.
You're certainly a
And it's
hard
just
man
And
to find.
it's 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 amazing thing to see, especially like from film, working with James Taylor, and just seeing that play from script to screen. It was good.
yeah. And it's funny, I was actually talking to a coworker the other night because I was giving him an update, telling him exactly where we were in the story and stuff like that. And I was writing a specific scene.
Must have
Corey, I
been
don't
scared.
know if I've shared this part with you yet,
Why else would you throw
but
away like the little bitch that
there's a
you
specific scene where that involves Jerry, and it's towards the end of the book, and I honestly shocked
are?
myself
We could have
with
helped
what
you.
happened in that scene. And I know it sounds crazy because we're the ones writing it. How do you shock yourselves? But like the
Sorry,
character of Jerry is just so dynamic.
Engineer.
He's great. He's my favorite.
But it's too late now.
All right, well, moving on to question number 6. Were any of the characters inspired by real life people? Yes, they were.
So the companionship specifically is more of it's a Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak style relationship kind of. But then you can add a little bit of the Bill Gates flair into their characters as well. If that makes
Talking specifically about the protagonists, the Adam
Mhm.
Murray and Stephen Bosch.
Yeah, specifically them, they were definitely based. They're just the camaraderie, I would say, is what's based off of Jobs and Wozniak.
What makes your characters diverse, and how do you expect the audience to connect with them?
In terms of diversity, the other characters too, even the side characters, all have, in my opinion at least, like very drastically different personalities from everyone else. And like they can connect to pretty much every type of person there is that could be reading this novel. Like for instance, Steven's girlfriend Kenzie, she's really bubbly and supportive, but she also has a mentality of where she might, if she needs to keep a secret to keep stuff safe and moving forward, she's not afraid to do that. In my opinion, every one of these characters represent somebody out there. And I think that'll give the audience a really good chance of connecting and kind of understanding and being like, wow, I feel like I'm being represented in this book too.
Can you share part of the story that you've chosen to take out?
The only thing I can say is that we have removed very large bits of story from like the original web series and the way the web series went. The book itself is loosely based off the characters and the concept, but the story itself is completely different. So that's really the only way we can answer that question, honestly. And when we decided to turn it into a book, we didn't want to just rehash the web series. We wanted to take the key piece of Adam and Steven and Jerry and all of these characters that we created and really liked in the web series, and pretty much flip it and make it a whole different universe with a whole different story.
Because we're not limited with the book, I think we were able to just like blow it up to something much bigger than what the web series was just going to
Absolutely.
entail.
And if you've watched the web series, as me and Corey have discussed multiple times, you'll catch little nuances that we kind of wrote into the book to kind of mimic scenes that were in the web series without completely basing it off, if that.
So question number 9, we're getting to the end here. What is your advice for someone who is thinking about writing a book?
Oof.
Stay persistent. Do not give up on it. You write something, and I've learned this even from writing scripts in the past, just for short films or like little movies. But I will tend to jump from one project to the next, and I think that it can deter you from completing that first project. So basically, it made me create a project, create a project, create a project, create a project. Never finish any of those projects. Not having a finished project is like one of the worst things. So I think staying persistent and staying on task of the one book that you're focused on right now, from the start, the middle to the finish, I think that's your best bet.
And something that we actually struggled with while writing this book is getting to the points where we knew the story we wanted to tell, but it's such a huge commitment. So if you're going to write a book, just be prepared for that commitment. And definitely write your story outline however you want, as detailed as you want, as no detail as you want. Just write the story out so you can see it. So that way you're not having to make up every single thing as you go. And then a quote that I heard in a video when we first started this, and I believe, Corey, you were watching that video with me, but the quote was, better to have an awful finished book than a really good first page, but nothing else. Because essentially, if you have that really awful finished product, you can work on that and make it better. But if you just have a really good first page and that's all you have, then you don't have anything. So just be prepared to stick with it is what you have to.
And you can always go back and edit. Not saying after your project's done or you publish the book, but I mean during that phase, writing your book out to a first draft and then going back and editing it again to kind of flush out what you want it to convey.
Yeah, and we're in no way means trying to act like we're experts at this, because this is the first book we've ever written. So we're kind of just telling you our experience as we're going along, just saying that it'll be a lot easier if you plan it out. All right, now this is the question
we've all been waiting for. So, when will the book be finished?
We actually finished the first draft. It's like 401 pages or something like that, and we're pretty excited about it.
The book's not finished. It's not published or anything.
Yeah.
But
we still have a long way to go, but just having that first draft that's tangible and just knowing I can start here and end here and have a completed story, no matter how rough it is exciting. And that's something that me and Corey are super excited about.
We're hoping the book to be finished by, I want to say, the end of this year. You might all be wondering what's going to take place after we have completed the book. As of right now, we are looking for editors to help us flesh out the details within the upcoming drafts. It's been a journey going from that 1-minute challenge film to this. To
400-page novel.
400-page novel. But we want to thank you guys for checking out the video. For those of you that sent in these questions, that wanted to know what's going on in our minds and what's going on with the story. And also, real quick, I want to thank those that contributed to the web series and the challenge film, because without you guys, we wouldn't be, I don't think, on this novel. I think we'd be on our next project, to be honest.
I think so as well, yeah.
Because I think that's what showed us the potential for something like creating this novel. So I just want to again appreciate and thank you guys.
But there's some big things coming. We've got some artwork teased that we might be releasing pretty soon, just kind of showing you guys, actual tangible characters and stuff like that. It's nothing set in stone yet, but we're pretty excited about it, and we're pretty excited to show you all what we have. So go like our page and share it, and updates will be coming very soon.
It is facebook.com/EMIT Book Series. We do have a fellow full sailor who created the art named Tyler Wells. We want to shout him out.
Absolutely.
And his expertise at creating some very fascinating art.
Yeah, he's extremely talented, and he's worked with us every step of the way. If there's been something that we wanted tweaked about a character, he doesn't hesitate. He makes sure that we're satisfied with what we're getting, and I'm really excited to continue forward with him and using him for potentially more artwork in the future.
So we do have a Discord server that people that will make public now after uploading this video to YouTube. We want people to join it. We want to talk to you guys. We want to answer any more of the questions that you might have. If from this video a question arises, we can answer it on the Discord or get back to you within the text chat. We're still answering on Facebook as well. Facebook and our YouTube page. You can comment down below if you have a question. Well, thank you very much, guys. That should be about it to wrap up.
Thank you guys so much. We'll be doing more stuff like this if you guys enjoy it, kind of giving little updates and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching.
All right, peace out.
All right, I think it went well.